This week, David thinks that sleeping trucks are adorable. Chloe wants to turn a cow into a probe, and I lose my masculinity in a bathtub. So let's strap down, strap in, and do this.
This is just another trucking podcast.
Good today.
Like
You've done something new.
And the people down as well. Right, okay. Where's the microphone? Are we too high, too low? We all good? We're looking to the camera. Let's do this. Nice. Hello, this is Just Another Trucking Podcast. I am your host, Tom, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friends, my co-hosts. We've got the glorious bearded one. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. Just don't waste all your good energy on me now, because you have a tendency of forgetting Chloe and her beauty.
Yeah,
So
my beautiful pink hair.
Like, I appreciate the compliments and all that. You just have a tendency of like focusing on this gloriousness, you know?
How could I not when it's there?
It's so good.
Look at
Yeah.
It is.
I'll happily bow down to that, David. It's all right.
It's a masterpiece, is that beard. That's what it is. Chloe, hello. How are you doing?
Hello, Tom. Yeah, you're right.
I'll level with
dead?
you. I am tired tonight.
So am I.
So, a bit of background information. If you listen to this has been recorded about an hour and a half after last week's episode.
Like,
but for us, it's only an hour and a half later. It's now
20 past midnight, pretty much. Yeah.
And we're doing it because we have a guest, which I'll level with you. Guys, I'm very, very excited about this. We have, well, Pi, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to explain who you are and what you do? Because I would say normally explain how you got into the industry, but how did you get into your industry? Question mark?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. So you guys can all call me Pi. Like my name is Billy, as you might see some like my family like refer to me as, but everyone like online knows me as Pi. And I got started into storm chasing. Let's see, I think that was 2018 when I started doing it seriously.
Pi, let me just clarify. When you say storm chasing, you're not talking thunderstorms. You chase tornadoes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You are a
hardcore
tornado chaser.
I know.
Amazing.
This is so
It's
cool.
the greatest day ever.
Oh man,
Sorry, go on.
I never thought that I could do it or even make enough money to pay for gas or anything. It was just like going out like one day out in eastern Colorado here in the US and just like, oh hey, that storm like looks kind of cool, you know, why not we just get closer to that and take some time lapses of it. So but I just loved it so much, and it took me years before I started making money based off of it. But so originally,
how do you not get caught up in the tornado? Like, you're chasing it. I'm sorry. Of course, you're going to get on with that. I'm just excited about it.
Yeah, well, fortunately, there's usually when it's a nice condensed funnel that's all the way to the ground, it's very easy to see where it's going and really easy to get out of its way. Now, there was one video that surfaced yesterday from a gal in Michigan that seemingly like just drove up to a tornado and just stopped and let the thing go over her. So
Oh, wow.
I guess they don't know exactly how to handle tornadoes up there in Michigan because they don't get them very much. But otherwise, if you just have some common sense, it's pretty easy to get out of the way. Except there was that one time.
In all fairness, in UK we don't ever see them, so I think a lot of people just sit there and go.
We get tornadoes.
What, like little sand ones on the floor?
Yeah, no. I saw a video on it.
That's not the same, Tom.
It knocked someone's shed over.
Oh wow!
Really?
It wasn't the most impressive thing I've ever seen. It was a really old shed. I mean, it was
We've had
practically
little
falling
ones,
over at the time. Yeah.
Have you seen the ones at like Download Festival where the little tents are going up in the air?
Oh, those are hilarious.
Oh, well,
That's exciting for us.
I don't think that's a tornado. That's there's tornadoes
A gust
and
of
there's
wind?
no, it's not a gust. There's is it a
We call them dust
downdraft?
devils.
No.
That's the name I was
do you know the
thinking
ones which take out planes where it's
microbursts.
Microburst. That's it. That's what the thing at Download was. It was a microburst.
Oh,
And
is
it
that what
takes
that
it-
was? Right.
But I think in America they're a lot more prevalent because it's a lot flatter and so looking out in the plains is it. So kind of they happen a lot more these microburst things.
I mean, it could very well be. I can't attest to how often they happen, but I do know that aircraft have to. They absolutely avoid thunderstorms for not just downdrafts, but also updrafts as well, because they can just wreak havoc. Like, there's been some terrible plane accidents because of them. So,
oh yeah, I'm an avid watcher of this is I don't know if it's sad or not. I love air crash investigation. In fact, I once watched air crash investigation on a plane.
Why would you do that there?
Because it was interesting. I watched it on the plane.
Let's get up halfway through. We're going down. We're going down.
I got some looks. I'll be honest with you. I got many looks as I'm sat watching air crash investigation and this plane fucking piling into this mountain and people around me going, "What the hell is he doing?" I'm loving it.
Is this the part of the on-flight entertainment, or was this on your laptop?
It's on my laptop. It's not.
Okay, all right. Because
I can't imagine them bringing it up. Hey, you are. We've got this lovely program about crashing planes. About how many people died.
oh man, I don't think that would bode well with most people.
Does that make me weird? I don't know.
I mean, I would do it too.
Okay.
So I find those things fascinating.
I have normally the idea is we've got we have the topics, kind of individual topics that we go on. But I'll be honest with you, I have so many questions. I need to ask you them, and I've been chomping at the bit. I've wanted to ask these on WhatsApp, and right. What's the biggest tornado you've ever chased?
Oh man, that was like the first one that I did back in 2018 when I finally got a reliable vehicle and I started driving out there, and it wasn't like crazy probabilities. It was like a 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So, but on that day, this nice cone just ascended out of the ground and just turned into this wide behemoth. I think it was like a half mile wide.
Did you videotape it?
The test got
half mile.
Yeah, it was a big one. And so my camera, I found out at that point that my lens was broken and like half the frame was like out of focus and the other half was in focus. So it was like all out of focus. And so, but I made do, tried to keep up with the thing. It just took off at probably like 40 to 50 miles an hour. So I had a hard time keeping up with, and I was just still a newbie at that point. So another one came very close to that. And that was actually just a few weeks ago down in Texas. That was a Tescott tornado, and it was at night, it was raining, and I just saw silhouettes of this big tornado in front of me, and it was the first time I ever saw what's called a power flash, where it looks like lightning, but it comes from more of the base of the cloud other than up in the cloud, and it has a different color to it.
What is this? The electrical lines that are going, or is this actually? Right.
It was because I totally drove over them after I went through the town. So,
holy crap! So I used to live in America. This is my one and only story of a tornado.
Oh, really?
And I'll be honest with you, I don't come out this story looking manly. I'll level with you guys. Yeah. So. I lived in America, and I was with this American lass, and she was we were sleeping. We were in Arkansas, in Hoxie, in Arkansas, and I heard this siren. I woke up, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And she goes, "Oh, it's the tornado siren."
Yep, hear them pretty commonly in Arkansas. So
I was like, "What? What does that mean?" And she goes, "There's a tornado heading this way."
So anyway, where should we go for lunch?
What? And she said it so calmly, so matter-of-factly. There's a tornado heading this way, where we are. The location that we're in right now, there's a tornado coming. And I'm
Oh,
like,
maybe.
well, what do we do? Where do we go? Where's the tornado shelter? We don't have one. Why don't we have one? We need one. I've seen Twister. I know what happens. It doesn't end well. And let's be honest, I'm the British guy in America. I'm the first to die. That's how these films work. That's how it works. I've seen these films. It doesn't work out well for me. And so I'm like, I'm shitting myself. I am absolutely. I'm like, where do we go? And she's like, well, you can go in the bathtub if you want. I'm like, the bathtub? What's that going to do if I get sucked up? So anyways, I hid in the bathtub. At 2 a.m, I was hiding in the bathtub and clinging onto it. She slept. She slept. She didn't give a shit. She did not give a shit. I came out of that experience so emasculated, I genuinely felt like giving my balls back and like going, yep, don't need these anymore. That's me done. I'm done. There you go. That's my one tornado experience.
At least, that's what the National Weather Service says to do every time there's a warning. So, I'll give you that.
In all fairness, I don't think she'd fit inside the bath with you. You're so tall. You
not very well. No, I'm 6'10". Imagine a 6'10" big gangly British man trying to fit in his bathtub. Yeah, it didn't work out well.
What size does a tornado have to be considered one? Like, those, because I basically the last 20 years I've spent in Oregon and Washington, and I don't know if they were like dust devils that would be 100 feet tall. Is that would that be considered a tornado? Like, at what point? What makes one a tornado?
I believe what the definition is that it's just a rotating updraft. Now, I believe a tornado is also associated with a thunderstorm up above. But then again, they've classified some firenadoes out in California as they've given them a proper EF rating, because some of them are just these massive swirling, they look like wedge tornadoes just swirling up into the sky.
I've seen this. So technically, by definition, them fire tornadoes, which by the way, yeah, it's basically because the wildfires they had. You saw basically because it was so ferocious, it's making its own weather patterns, and it basically made a fire tornado. But by definition, it's not a tornado. It's just a very big dust devil, is it? Almost.
No, they have called them tornadoes because they give them the official EF rating. So, but then again, they do make, I think they're pyrocumulus clouds that go up into the sky, and maybe that's what does the distinction, because I don't believe a dust devil. There might be more to the dictionary definition when it comes specifically to dust devils.
I didn't realize we were going to be picking your brains this much, if I'm honest.
It's too good.
Yeah.
When are we ever going to learn this stuff?
I love talking about it.
Yeah, it's... So, okay.
What equipment do you need?
Actually, so my question was going to be somewhat similar to this, which is... Obviously, watching, just to point out, I have watched documentaries about tornadoes, but how much more advanced is the kind of tracking of tornadoes, and how much more predictability it is? And then leading on from Chloe's question, what equipment do you use in your car to actually kind of keep track of these?
Oh, well, it's gotten so much simpler. Discovery Channel used to have a show called Storm Chasers where they followed them, and they're just using basic laptops. They've got GPS, with pre-downloaded maps and whatnot, and they're literally just calling someone that has access to the radar to figure out what to do. But nowadays you can just get an app like Radar Scope, and that will let you pull up any kind of radar in the country. And this is really handy because you can just click on a radar and get the high resolution, basically raw data of it. That's way higher resolution than the typical radar app that you have that'll combine all of the radars together.
And how live is? How often is this updated? As in kind of what's the update rate on it?
Yeah, for most of the year, it's about every 5 minutes, and I'll probably get the data within a minute of it being scanned. And then when there's a big storm outbreak, they'll start scanning it even faster. I don't know exactly what they're doing at the radar site, but then they'll start coming in like every 2 minutes at that point. So just having this is immensely powerful when storm chasing. You can know so much about what a storm is doing, if there's a tornado on the ground, and which direction it's moving. So this is really all that you need. And so, I mean, in terms of cameras, I prefer having an interchangeable lens camera, especially one with a really big image sensor. That way, raindrops and stuff on the windshield go out of focus more. So that's pretty much the only two things that I would recommend.
That. Yeah.
So if we downloaded that app down here, we could do storm chasing in UK in our lorries.
They are adding
a whole new thing to our YouTube.
It would definitely require, actual storms. I would
tornadoes.
suspect. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Looks
wind.
Looks like they've only added a few radar locations to Europe. It doesn't look like they have any in the UK yet. So they're currently adding more. There is another one that's gaining popularity called Radar Omega, but. So
I've got one for tracking lightning. Is it Blitzturung or something like that? That's quite good, and you can see that all the lightning strikes, and you can actually see how active it is. And I like watching all
really
the thunderstorms
cool.
stuff like
for
that.
Fun. You probably saw the video where I got hit by lightning last month, and it was fun. I looked.
That was awesome.
So this obviously. So to explain on this one here, this is your latest video, isn't it? If I remember correctly, and so you're sat in your car. And there's two of you, isn't there? So you got a chase vehicle essentially, or is that
he was just another chaser out there. I know him. I have chased with him before, so he may have recognized my car and was just kind of hanging out behind me just because he knew me. But as far as I know, he was
just by happen chance. It was just so yeah. Basically, you sat there, and there's a crack, and you're like, oh, things are not working.
Yeah, I first thought that this lightning strike just happened really close to me because I remember seeing a bolt in front of me, and I was like, how close was that? And then my car's not working, and I'm like, could a close lightning strike have taken out my car? Like, I did not think that it hit me at first. It wasn't until I got out and saw that my antenna was blown off from it that was...
So did it blow a bunch of fuses?
Until then. I checked every fuse that I could, but not a single one of them was blown. So there was something wrong going on with the car. All of the accessories stayed on in the car. After I turned it off and back on of them. So as far as I could tell, none of those were fried, but the car wouldn't. I mean, it's a Prius, so it wouldn't go into its magical ready mode and to start the engine. And so that's when I'm like, oh, darn it, I'm gonna have to get this towed now.
So it's been. When was that actual video recorded? When was that? How long ago was that the video was recorded?
That was April 12th. It happened just after both the other chaser and I, Chris, and we had just saw this amazing tornado. It's known as like the Gilmer City April 12th tornado, and it just was churning up so much dust because there's been a lot of places that have been experiencing some drought here, and so we were just on a high off of seeing this tornado. And I had saw him earlier on in the day, so I knew he was around, Chris, since I had chased with him before, and then as I was following the storm, and then I think I got hit by a microburst that what we were talking about earlier, because the wind just started picking up like crazy. I thought I was in another tornado, and I'm like, I don't think there's no rotation on the radar. I'm not seeing a funnel cloud over me. And then some tree branches started breaking off next to me. This barn starts coming apart. And
oh, wow.
So it made me nervous. So I turned my car into the wind at that moment because the cars are built for those kinds of aerodynamics, and so that's when the lightning just went bam, and I was just like, oh, it wasn't the loudest thing that I've ever heard, but it was pretty loud. I mean, the car dampened quite a bit of it, but so that's
crazy.
Just to kind of keep it a tiny little bit trucking related, have you ever seen a semi truck get tipped over by a tornado or by the winds?
Ooh, almost. I saw a semi last year. There was the Selden, Kansas tornado, and all of us chasers were like in a nice conga line, just following this thing because it was basically going right along the road. But then all of a sudden, I just see. Well, not one, but two semis pass me towards this circulation. It wasn't like a condensed funnel all the way to the ground. It was like there was like little spin ups that were happening in this small Kansas town, and it was. But there was like a broad circulation happening all around. You could see debris flying, but these semi drivers just started going straight for it. And I'm like. Storm chasing in a semi, really? And I'm like,
I suppose if their product is really low down and really, really heavy, that would work. Or if it's a flatbed.
The only thing I can think of is they didn't know which way it was moving, and so they just wanted to get past the storm altogether. But man, but it was it was moving very slowly, so I guess it would have been tough to figure out which direction it was going. But after I drove through the town, the semis drove off into the distance. There was one that had fallen on its side, so I think that was from the straight line winds just outside of the tornado, because the tornado was on the other side of the road at that point. But yeah, that was one time that one got knocked over, and I don't know what he was thinking driving into it. But
I've never actually seen it happen, but I have seen I don't know, maybe 30 trucks in the space of like 5 miles on their side one time in Southern California. They get some the Santa Ana winds get so crazy, and up by San Bernardino, basically the more northeast you go, the winds get absolutely crazy. I went up bobtailing with no trailer, and I was like, nope, goodbye. I'm heading back south to where, and I just when I did head back, that's when all the trucks were flipped over on their side. It kind of looked like they were all sleeping. It was kind of cute. You know.
Go tuck them in.
Yeah,
there you are. You're all good, mate.
I'm taking a nap.
Yeah, that just happened. It happened in Colorado Springs just this last winter. We had some crazy winds too in like December that knocked about a dozen of them over on the interstate that goes through here.
Wow,
So,
crazy.
yeah,
America's crazy when it comes to weather.
It seems. I mean, I do wonder. Like, I wonder if like places like Russia gets as many tornadoes, because obviously they've got like big flat areas as well.
You don't hear about it, do you? Really?
But I wonder if there's. I don't know. Just it's. I wonder if there's something to do with how it's kind of portrayed in film, in cinema, and stuff like that. Like, for instance, like Twister, and then it's kind of like, because of that, there are people that watch that and then want to go out and kind of replicate it, and then that kind of it's kind of like a perpetuating cycle almost.
I mean, that may or may not have influenced me.
Did it? I'll be honest with you. I loved
Have you ever seen a
film.
cow flying by?
I loved it.
No, I have
put it in his
not.
video.
I did, yeah. I actually referenced it. I referenced Twister in one of my
there
videos.
you go.
Yeah.
It's in North America largely due to geography, as moisture from the Gulf of Mexico is easily, I don't know that word, something. It was a good
Thanks,
fact.
Chloe.
Yeah, moisture
Something. Thank you for that.
I'll
This is
tell you
why
a
we
good
keep
fact
you on.
I'll tell you a good fact I did learn the other day about lightning. Is you get
Go on.
something called lightning sprites. I thought that was pretty
Yes,
cool.
they're pretty. I finally captured them a
really
few
pretty,
years ago
aren't
for the
they?
first time.
Did you?
Mhm.
Did you?
They look
Okay,
like just
lightning sprite.
tiny little blips to the naked eye. Just
Yeah, they're like literally like little spirits, aren't they? Almost, they're so cool.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So what you have to do to see them is you have to be clear above you, and there has to be a storm off in the distance. So usually out in the higher plains, it's easier to see them because it's not nearly as humid here. And if you have a storm that's moving away from you, because as the storms bubble up, the anvils tower out, and if the anvils move away from you, then usually those anvils won't get in the way of your view, because they'll just bubble up here and you can see it clearly from up above. And so, but yeah, they'll just appear above a storm. We're like right when a lightning strike is happening, right below it. They happen about the same altitude as the aurora borealis, and so they kind of have that same red and green look to them, but they're very quick, and they're probably just a little bit fainter normally than the northern lights. So they're a little bit tricky to capture, but man, they're fun. It's a real treat when I stumble upon them.
they do look cool.
You actually managed to capture some, did you? You're saying? Wow.
they're more of like stills because they happen so quickly on them. So, I mean, I could probably pull one up here and screen share it if you like what it looks like.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I don't. Okay,
It's all right. I was just going to say, I've seen pictures. They're beautiful. Go on.
Yeah, so I don't normally try to track them down since they happen like fairly common enough, at least for a storm chaser, that I'll just capture them when the opportunity presents itself. So I've got one on my Facebook.
Are we
page
okay?
here.
Are we okay posting this to Instagram? On these pictures, okay, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Just because
a lot of them
there will be people that are, obviously this goes out on YouTube. There's obviously the audio version as well. So then people listening in their cabs, once you're pulled over nice and safe, go to our Instagram page, which you should definitely follow, please.
Of course,
forward.
yeah.
Now go and
Maybe we
do
should
that.
take this
now.
time to say follow our Instagram, watch it on YouTube, Facebook.
I feel like we should have done that at the very beginning of that.
Yeah,
of
but I'm
the
just
beginning
filling a
of this.
hole. I'm just filling a hole.
Well, are we plugging stuff?
Here
Awesome.
we go.
No,
not?
David,
not you, David. Shut up. No,
David, no.
no. You don't
It
need
has
to
been a
plug
week
anymore. You've
since
had
people
your
have
lot.
heard
Alright.
anything.
No, it hasn't. It's been wow.
There they are. So those are the sprites that I've captured so far. There's been other
That
times
is
when I've tried to
amazing.
capture sprites, but I think this is the only one I have posted so far. Yeah. Yep, so there's the lightning flash that you can see below it. This was with my old camera, so it's a bit grainy, and so I just got a new one, though.
I mean, I'm not saying aliens, but that's definitely aliens right there.
I
That
would
is
love to
pretty
see a
cool.
sprite from the air, to fly through one.
That must
It'd
be
be
phenomenal.
so lucky.
Must be phenomenal. Yeah.
I don't even know
yeah.
if planes can fly that high, but I mean, that'd be really cool. So
I think that is that. Oh no, actually, I was going to say, what's that American one? The is it X?
What?
I can't remember. There's an American plane that goes really, really high and it flies with missiles.
Why don't you just
I
say an
can't
American plane that goes really, really high and fires missiles?
Because I was trying to sound professional, Chloe.
Has it ever worked out for you?
No, it really
Exactly.
never routinely does not work out well for me.
I mean, you can figure out the flappy thing, the flappy thing.
God, I do not do well on this, but I come into this podcast genuinely trying to make myself look smarter. Never works.
No, it's not worth it.
Never works.
No, just go with it.
So what's have you had? Obviously, there was the lightning, but have you had a oh shit moment? As in, I might have messed up here.
yeah,
when out.
Yeah, last year is when it happened. I was looking at radar, and this was a time, it was early on in the season, so the radar was still only updating once every 5 minutes. And plus, sometimes it'll take a long time to get the radar update on my phone. And oftentimes that's because a lot of storm chasers are all using the same cell towers, and even though I've got a lot of bars, the data will just be coming in slow. And so fortunately, I was on the time with my sister, who often storm chases with me, and I was trying to get her to let me know, where's the circulation? Because I'm driving south to meet this, and the storm is coming up from the southwest. And I can see there's rotation on radar. And eventually I did see a tornado report show up on there. There's the radar app you can link.
So just quickly, just to interrupt. Okay, so you keep saying that about you can see the circulation on radar. I mean, if you can kind of what are you actually seeing? No, I was more meaning for the people listening in their trucks on a Monday morning. What are you seeing on the? I'm trying to be. It's a
Well, I imagine
podcast,
it's
Chloe.
a circular motion.
For fuck's sake, Chloe.
Well,
how about let
it's a
the
great
experts talk?
Here we go. So let's see. This one's that one's a little pixelated. Can I download this? I saved a screen grab. This one here is from Radar Omega. And so this is what it looks like. So we look at what's called the velocity radar. So you normally see reflectivity, which is the green that goes into yellow and to red. This one actually shows wind direction. So red is wind that is moving away from the radar. Green is moving towards it. And so what you're looking at here, this was a screen grab from radar Omega. And so this is the radar site right here. So it's coming very close to it so we can get a very detailed picture. So all of this red is moving away from the radar. All of this green is moving towards it. Now, if you get this here, where you see red and it kind of blue in this instance, that means this red is moving away, this green is moving. So this is circulating very tight. This is undoubtedly a tornado on the ground at this point. So this is what I'm typically looking for, is red and green that are right next to each other.
So you've really got to know what you're looking for then, really, from the looks of it.
Yeah, and typically tornadoes will stand out like that when they're on the ground. Now, tornadoes will form below a rotating thunderstorm, so when they're way farther from the radar, the curvature of the Earth, the radar beam will go up higher in the storm if the storm's down here. So when it's really far away, you can see that the storm's rotating, and you can infer that there might be a tornado there. So that's why, like when you're in Arkansas, there may have been a tornado warning, but no tornado. It's because they're trying to give everyone lead time. And the farther from the radar site, the more warnings that I've noticed that the National Weather Service will tend to issue. And I think that's likely because it will, because they're just not sure if a tornado is there or not, but there could be.
Because it can kind of give, you can get dead spots with the radar, and it can there's more of that not as predictable unpredictability. That's the word. Yeah, come on, Tom. Come on, Tom. You can use words. You can English.
I know, I feel like I'm class. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, Jenny, so do I, yeah.
Here's some storms that are forming in Arkansas right now. So you can see that right here.
So this is actually, what you're showing us is actually live?
Yeah,
wow.
This is live. Yeah, so this is showing the some high-resolution radar, but then once we get farther away from it, it gets more and more pixelated, and as well as you see higher up in the storm, and eventually you just start seeing green that high up because you're getting above the cloud tops. So in that case, you can usually try to find another radar like this one over here. I think this is Tennessee. That will give you a much higher resolution that's closer to the ground. So
that's cool. So what makes you actually want to go and find these? What do you just see a random storm and go, I want to look at that one, or you plan ahead?
Yeah. So the Storm Prediction Center is a fantastic resource because they issue probabilities throughout the whole day. So here we have a big, long, slight risk area, which means that there's a slight chance that any one city could get a severe thunderstorm, and which means there will be a severe thunderstorm somewhere. And you can go to the tornado tab and see the tornado probabilities. So 2% is lame. 5% is okay. There'll usually be like a tornado or two in a 5% area, but that's like Canada's turn. So this is what I check first. And I've been slow. I did not go to school for meteorology. I went to school for digital arts. And so I've been slowly learning all of the jargon down here about how to forecast and whatnot. So, I mean, I can get really nerdy with some of this stuff, looking at some of these models and showing all of this nerdy stuff. But I'm definitely not an expert at this. I'm still learning all the time. And so I know enough to get by because the Storm Prediction Center takes out so much of the work for me. So, but I'm also trying to learn it because the the computer models update way more often than the Storm Prediction Center's forecasts. And
are you starting to kind of get to the point where you can kind of you're actually able to take all this information? So to kind of, again, for the people who in the trucks, like, not able to kind of see what we're talking about, where we're looking at very fancy maps here which have so much information. And if I'm honest with you, there's days I struggle with Google Maps. There's so much going on here. They're complicated. There's lines everywhere. But are you kind of getting to the point where your own intuition's actually able to kind of take all this information and actually start making your own decisions and actually saying, well, actually, no, I think it's going to be more to the south here, or actually, I think it's going to be kind of, and you're able to kind of, obviously, it's always going to be a gamble, but because it's so unpredictable, like there's unpredictable. Am I not wording right tonight?
No, it is gone like nearly 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, basically, are you able to kind of like, are you able to figure things out for yourself?
Oh man, sometimes though it just doesn't matter, like, because like there are some times when I've like trusted my intuition and like saw a tornado because of it. There's been other times when I've shown up late to a storm and I'm like, oh goodness, there's so much, like I want to be so much farther south, and then I look out my window and I'm like, that looks like a funnel cloud over there. And so I am trying to work on my intuition and learn more, because a lot of these are just supercomputers that are just crunching numbers all the time. And so that's what everyone is basing off of. So to develop an intuition, you basically have to start learning what kind of biases these computer models have and what to do when you see like one model that's like say a model will update every hour. Well, if it's updating a diff, like if it's saying a storm's going to be in a completely different place every time, then it's not gonna then it's probably not gonna pan out by the latest run. It's probably getting it wrong every time. And so, but if it is nailing it every time, then you can say, okay, it thinks the storm is there, but then developing a bias, that's something that I'm still working on. And I also follow a lot of other meteorologists to figure out what they're doing and make a more informed decision that way. So I'm getting there. I could probably twice has my intuition paid off, and probably several other times where my intuition has gotten me nowhere. So
that's pretty awesome.
I know that you're chasing storms. Do you ever get a speeding ticket on the way to one? Do you maintain the speed limit? You know, and
or at least go in the opposite direction. They're running away from it.
I feel like if there's a tornado, police have probably got literal bigger things to worry about.
I have noticed that.
What is the interaction? Because I have noticed that there is very strange interactions between the chasers and the police, and it is almost like there was I can't remember who I was watching, but there was the police were just immediately like, oh yeah, this is a storm chaser, yeah, go on, yeah. And it was so strange to kind of see like they know exactly what's going on, and they're just like, just accept it. It's kind of seems like a normal thing.
It varies quite a bit. There was one time, I just posted this video recently, where a police blockade stopped me from going through.
It was. I was thinking, was it one of your videos? This is the one, and but he knew. He was like, "You're a storm chaser."
Well, actually, he told me I couldn't go through the blockade. So, but yeah, he knew I was a storm chaser because, I had cameras. It's pretty obvious at that point. And, but no, I had to go down a dirt road to get around him. But then there's other times where I've seen storm chasers have helped out first responders and have given more up-to-date information to the officers as well to let them know where the storm is going. And so in that case, there's some storm but then again, I'm sure the police
I'm sure
deal with
there's
a
very much symbiotic relationship between police and storm chasers and all of that kind of thing.
I would say it's more between the National Weather Service and storm chasers, because the National Weather Service likes all the reports, the spotter reports that come in. They use Spotter Network for it. The only time I've reported a storm was when I was only one of a few other chasers on it, and that was the one that I was arriving really late for. And that one I just called directly into the nearest office. I looked up their number online, and so, but it's often tough to make spotter reports when I'm solo chasing. Is it Brandon who's got Dominator? That, by the way, Reed Timmer.
Much like a certain British politician, do be careful what you're searching online. You don't want to get fired from Parliament. No one else getting that joke? No one else getting that joke.
What are you on about?
What
is wrong with you?
Okay, so just go on a complete tangent. Actually, our first one, there was this British politician that was looking at porn in the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
And apparently what he'd actually been searching was, if you know what the class dominator is, it's a combine harvester.
Oh,
and
wow.
Apparently that's what he'd been searching for.
That's
and
a big
apparently come
mix-up.
across a porn site, and that was his excuse for it. Anyways,
He should have chucked some allegedlys in, he'd be alright.
Exactly. Allegedly, I was looking for agricultural, but anyways.
I actually thought you were talking about an armored vehicle here in the US owned by Reed Timmer called
that would be
Dominator.
cooler.
Yeah, Reed Timmer, that's him. Yeah, so that was that was the beginning of that tangent. But yeah, Reed Timmer, and
then
my
you spouted
question
off.
about porn, because why not? But my question was, so I was watching his YouTube videos, and there was this moment where a tornado had just gone through, and it was almost like this kind of, because I'm watching it, I'm loving like all the like photography and all this sort of thing he's doing, like it's kind of very exciting. But then there's this part where it's gone through this residential area, and it suddenly there's this reality that comes crashing down. And have you had that where you've gone through somewhere and that kind of like the excitement of what you do and that kind of the thrill of it suddenly kind of comes into, oh shit, this is real. This is
damaging,
very raw. And have you had that? Have you had that kind of where you've turned up on just after it's kind of gone through somewhere? And yeah.
Oh yeah. So fortunately, so far I have only seen like not life-threatening damage so far. So not so much like this like sinking feeling, not yet in any case. I'm still trying to mentally prepare for myself when there's just like utter devastation, because it's been 9 years now since we've had an EF5 tornado come anywhere. So it's only a matter of time before I just see total devastation. There has been times when I've stayed behind twice after a tornado has gone through towns and like interviewed some of the people around it. And that's when it's really sunk in for me. Although it's helped out a lot that there's been no fatalities yet in any of the destruction that I've seen. So, and mostly it's like industrial buildings, because they tend to have a lot more surface area and can collapse more easily than like, say, a residential home. And but talking with the people is a bit like, I almost feel like a gawker, like going through some of these damage paths, like, and I feel embarrassed to talk to some of these people, but some of them just really appreciate being able to tell their stories. And so I have yet to post these videos, but once I do get them, that's ultimately what I want to do with the channel, is tell people stories from it. And because like storm chasing is all fun and now, but I don't think I'd want to be a thrill seeker for the rest of my life. I mean, it would be fun once in a while. I mean, I love roller coasters and stuff, you know, just as much as anyone else, but that is definitely it is such a contrasting reality between just seeing nature's fury and then just seeing raw destruction and seeing how it's affecting people's lives. And it, like, something that I didn't expect when I started storm chasing is I am more cautious around severe weather now, because I've just seen what it can do. So like when someone from, say, Oklahoma, which tends to get the worst of the tornadoes here, and when they've like moved here to Colorado, they're like, tornado warnings, we get them all the time. And I'm like, there's a reason why they issue them. And so that reality, I did not expect that from becoming a storm chaser, because I was always the one that, like, I always wanted to see a tornado growing up. My dad taught natural disasters on the little college on an Air Force base, and so that got me hyped up for it as a kid. And I always wanted to see one, but growing up in Montana, we just never got them. And but when I started chasing, I was like, shoot, this is a bit more serious than it seemed growing up. Hearing about all this stuff.
It's funny going back to that thing. So it's not quite the same as what you're talking about here, but I can relate to the people that you've interviewed.
Really?
That was like a really.
Well, that's story. Really wounds me here. Don't worry. So
we've got nothing compared.
We had one. Well, so with Storm Desmond, so it was flooding. But it was very, very severe flooding. And when it was actually happening, I remember like the adrenaline had kicked in. And like you kind of like there was very much a focus of like, I need to go and do this and I need to go and do that. And they're kind of watching all this and watching the waters rise. But then the next day, and I'm walking around, and there is, and I'm guessing there's the same, well, much that there is an eerie silence. And I cannot describe how the walking around and seeing the people and kind of having that thing of like kind of looking around and you can hear like alarms going off in the background, and it's something. It's more. It's like almost like it's like it's like a war thing. And it's you're kind of walking around it, and I can appreciate it, and I think having gone through that myself, or gone through something where lives were in danger, I think it's you do a good survey actually, kind of asking these people, and I think it's also a good thing to actually record like these events from a personal standpoint, because there is a kind of, I mean, and again, I very much see it like that kind of glorification of like, oh, look at this mess thing, but there are people behind it as well, genuine people. So yeah, I think you do a lot of good with that. What else?
That.
No, I'll be honest, I started watching the channel.
Good to share the stories, yeah.
I started watching the channel, and I'll be honest, something that I quite liked about I've watched a few of them, and I watched Reed. Is it Reed Timmer?
Mm-hmm.
I like some of the stuff that he does. I find him very arrogant and full of himself, and I just, as a person, I don't like
You're putting
him.
your foot in it.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? Fuck it. I don't give a shit. I watch his stuff. I just find him quite full of himself. Whereas with you, there's something. I feel like.
You look like you genuinely enjoy it, and
I feel like I'm very much vicariously living this experience with you, and there's something quite endearing about that. And I very much enjoyed your content. To be honest, I'm still stunned that you replied to me.
Well, I love talking about this stuff, so.
Oh, mate. Well, we're 46 minutes in. We still haven't got to a single topic yet, so that is very, very, very true. Go on, Chloe. Have you got any more questions, or David? Any more questions who can pick this man's brain?
We're actually like a factual topic this week. It's quite exciting.
But technically, we've actually stayed on track with something. Well,
I know.
apart from the class dominator thing, but we'll forget about what I did wrong, and we'll just talk about other stuff. But what are the questions we got?
I want to know, is Twister realistic, or do you watch it and go, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong? Or is it pretty accurate? I was going to talk about this earlier.
This is funny because we
do that in trucking all the time.
With trucking, we were talking about. I don't know if you watched The Transporter. So again, for those people listening, for last week's episode, this has been a few hours ago for us. But have you ever seen the film Transporter?
No, I haven't.
Right. Well, basically, there's a scene with trucks, and it's very unrealistic with that. What have you watched with like stuff like Twist, and you're like, yeah, that's not how it works, and that's not how this would, and yeah.
Oh man, let's see. I haven't watched it since I started storm chasing seriously, but man, the first time I had watched it, I'll be honest, I couldn't stop laughing at the thing with just how it's with more of like the effects and how they portrayed like how it would look or how it would be experienced to be in a tornado. I suppose they did get some stuff down, like the storm chasing aspects of it. That is what I would say to be accurate. And there are people trying to get probes into tornadoes. Like, I mean, I'm trying to fly a drone into a tornado. So that part I could kind of buy, except you would need some really good tracking systems, even with today's technology, to send that many probes into a tornado. So
they haven't managed to do it yet then?
Just a couple. Reed Timmer has gotten one probe in a tornado, I believe. So...
okay, right. I didn't think about this, anyone, by the way. If you haven't watched the film Twister, do yourself a favour. I think it's maybe on Netflix in the UK. Go and watch it. It's so good. It's shit. It is terrible. But
I love that film. It's great.
It is great at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a great way to describe it, yes.
But I didn't think about that. They've got these basically like little balls.
Yeah.
But they eventually put Coke cans on.
So they get lift.
In fact, that's the whole plot of the film. A man well, a group of people try to take balls and throw them into a tornado, and it doesn't work.
And a
so they
man's
put
trying to
Coke
get a
cans
divorce,
onto them,
and it
then,
never happens.
That's
literally.
the plot of this film. But basically, there's they don't really communicate with each other. They're communicating back, but because they would need different points. They need different trackers all around the tornado to be able to pick up the exact locations of where each one of them is. So that scene at the end where, at the end of it, it shows exactly where each one is in the tornado. That wouldn't work, would it? They'd actually need something to actually scan it. Yeah?
I don't know how it works.
I mean, like, well, Reed Timmer, he was able to get live data back from his rocket probe that he sent into his tornado. So, but in the sense, I think you would need probes to measure the whole storm to see what it's doing. And so going up into the main updraft into the storm and the air around the tornado and measuring the downdraft that's behind the storm and also the rear inflow jet and the inflow, like knowing all of that would be very valuable data too, not just the tornado. So but honestly, I think the best thing in science is doing supercomputer simulations. There's like Dr. Lee Orff up in the University of Wisconsin. He has been taking conditions from tornadoes and from past tornadoes that have had like big wedge tornadoes, and they are and he's able to model these things at really high resolution, and you can see not just the tornado, but you can see other like little eddies and swirls that are going around the tornado that are being sucked in and paired with the bigger circulation that you can't see because the pressure isn't low enough for it to condense into a funnel cloud. So that, I think, is where tornado science is going to make the most headway, is with those, because if we can get a supercomputer to model a storm as it's developing in the future, then I think we could have way more lead time for tornadoes in the future. So
that's better than my solution.
So you're talking about
what
was your
put
solution?
Sensors on cows, because tornadoes like cows. Like suck up the cows.
Good old Chloe.
And spin around.
One day,
I said earlier it has cows. Just go into a field.
This is what we have to deal with on a weekly basis, Pi. Like, this is a weekly thing.
It's a good solution.
Jesus Christ, it's a solution. Yeah, it's a solution.
Go on, Tom.
All right, so we got three more topics to talk about. So are we gonna play through those?
There's literally no chance we're getting through any of them. I Pi. Let's talk about the Prius, because I believe let's at least get one topic in here. You wanted to defend your Prius, did you not?
Yeah.
Try and defend a Prius to truckers. Let's see how well this goes.
Okay, so some context here. I was driving a 1999 Chevy Prism before I got the Prius, and I got an email from my grandparents saying that they were getting a new Prius and that they wanted to give a good deal to either my brother and I. And I was the only one to respond to the email, and I'm like, I can't really afford another car. I was able to barely afford this Prism, and they're like, okay, well, how about we just give it to you for free then? I'm like,
nice.
Okay, sure.
Absolutely.
So,
like a
yeah,
good
and I'm
deal.
like, I don't a reliable vehicle. So
Jesus,
and,
I wish I had grandparents that would
right.
email me and say, "Do you want a car?" They can't even use the
Man.
email.
It was an absolute blessing, because this meant that I could finally start storm chasing seriously. I went on one storm chase in the Prius, and my check engine light came on.
What year is the
I knew
Prius?
nothing about cars. 2009, so 10 years newer. So at the time.
Oh wow, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And so that was so great, and I was surprised for how much more mechanical aspects there are and more electrical components. It's actually been a very reliable car. Like, every repair I've done on it has given me warning signs ahead of time. So it's been the only thing that's been a bit of a struggle is the small tires and the low clearance on it. So that, I will give all the Prius haters out there, that has gotten me in some sticky situations.
Are the batteries quite low on a Prius?
No. not super low. Well, I mean, the base of the Prius is pretty low to reduce drag, but
Well, I was more thinking, like, 'cause I do know, actually, I know Teslas and stuff like that. They've got all the batteries in the
It's a
bottom of it.
Prius fully electrical.
No, it's a hybrid.
Hybrid.
Is what they call it. So it's
I know Brian drives one, doesn't he, from Family Guy. That's all I know
not a
about
plug-in
it.
hybrid, just regular.
it's Jesus Christ.
That's
just
literally
don't,
all I know
just
about
don't
it.
touch it. Just don't touch that comment. Just move on. Jesus fucking Christ. A Family Guy. That's your factual information you bring into
That's
this
where
one
we
here.
normally come from,
That's sure. Yeah. But I was just thinking, if there's a lot of weight at the bottom, that's obviously better for you when there's strong winds because it's not going to want to blow the car over.
Well, I can attest to how it being low to the ground generally does make the vehicle less susceptible to rolling. So I will say that the batteries in this case aren't very low. They're behind the back seat, so I think they're above the fuel tank. So in this case, they're not super low. But having something low to the ground is really good if you get caught in a tornado. But that's generally not my intention. So,
What's the closest you ever got to a tornado?
So there have been times that there's been a couple of times that actually. Right before I got hit by lightning, I got close enough that my ears popped. And that was the first time that's ever happened. I mean, it was really wide circulation. So I wasn't like in like the cloud of dust that it was picking up or anything. I was still probably like a good, probably 250 meters and away from that aspect of it, but still close enough. Now, there was one time when I was coming up on a storm that it was moving. It was the one that I was talking about where I was moving south and it was moving northeast. And so I knew there was a circulation in there, but the radar wasn't updating very fast. And this cloud of rain just came, this wall of rain enveloped me. And so I'm like, I have no idea where this tornado is. I need to turn around. I do not have situation awareness right now. And so I turned around, got some distance, but I really wanted to see something. I'd missed out on several tornadoes already that day. And so I let the wall of rain envelop me again. And then it kind of started clearing up and I just see this cloud off to my right. And I was like, and then I started seeing tree branches break at the base of it. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's a tornado. And then I was like, okay, I guess there's nothing to do but point to the wind. And there was like some trees in front of me. I was super nervous. And looking at so fortunately it was passing me, and that's why I saw it off to the right. And it was so wide that I couldn't see the other side of it. And looking at the survey, the tornado was actually coming right for me, and then it curved around to my right and then literally crossed behind me. Or I guess in this case,
you literally just avoided it.
Yeah, and it was probably about 100 meters away from me, and I think the tornado was a half a mile wide. Sorry, I'm trying to translate to kilometers, but so.
Oh no, don't worry.
No, we're doing miles.
In England we have the weirdest. Basically, we use meters and millimeters for some things. We feet and it's just
okay.
we have our own rules. Basically, we do what we want. We're British. You know,
Gotcha.
we invented the whole thing. It's all good.
Right. Gotcha.
There was a movie.
French invented.
There was a movie. I don't know which Superman it was, but when the dad was saving the dog, and right because there was a hurricane, there was a tornado coming towards everybody, and they went underneath a bridge for safety. Does hiding underneath a bridge like that actually? Is that like one of the safest, or like underneath an overpass? Is that one of the
it's
the
one
safest
of the
places?
worst spot. No, it's.
I was just wondering that. I was like, why? Yeah, why?
I mean, if you want to get from hail, sure.
Did it not do any research for that movie?
Because
I think it's just for dramatic, isn't it?
Has been known for so long, I guess. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of people still do it. But like it creates a wind tunnel. It amplifies the wind being under there. Like, honestly, what my personal recommendation is that the National Weather Service will say if you're in a tornado warning and you're in a vehicle, to stop your car and take shelter. And so, but you know, There's lots of tornado warnings, and even if there's a tornado on the ground, you may not even be close enough for it to even hit you. My personal recommendation is if you see a tornado is coming towards you and it's like about to hit you in your car, to first drive your car into the ditch and then get out of the car. Try to get as far away from the car as you can, and then huddle down in the ditch, because in the ditch, your car will be less likely to roll. And if it looks like a strong tornado, roll down your windows too, because they're going to get blown out anyway. Now, people will generally be freaking out in that instance, so I don't know if you should take my advice with, but
I would be crashing into that ditch.
Right. So I was going to say, are you suggesting is what you're suggesting as your final top tip? Are you suggesting that you crash a car into a ditch to save yourself? I just need to clarify because
and roll the windows down.
Yeah, you got to remember that bit.
Right.
You
Okay.
might need to wedge yourself in the ditch with the car, and you'll be right.
There we go, guys. There we go. The top tip for the podcasts.
Nothing trucking related
car,
whatsoever.
Crash your car into a ditch.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't necessarily need to be a tornado there. Just do it anyways.
Now, if you can see which direction the tornado is moving, then just drive away from it. That's what I would recommend. Drive down the wrong side of the road. Yeah,
See,
but
we are informative, if nothing else. I think what we'll do is, we're going to leave it there. That's as good as we're going to get. Crash your car into a ditch. Thank you.
Love it. We've had some good
Has
pointers.
anyone got anything that they would like to plug? David? No,
No,
you're not
today?
allowed to this time.
it's been a week.
Why not?
It's,
Wow.
it's-
For
it's
everybody,
not
for
good.
everybody else, it's been a week.
David, telling you now, if you put your advert in
What are you
post,
talking about?
If you put it in post, I will not be happy.
Well, I have to
He's doing
make
it.
a green screen for that. There we go. All right.
oh wow, no way! You totally had me fooled. Nice job.
Chloe, what
Better
have you got
doing
to
this.
plug?
This is what I know. This is what I normally plug.
This stuff.
That's just
Chloe, what have you got to plug?
Skip Chick SW. I drive skips. It's
There
not
you
as
go.
exciting as storm
I've got-
chasing.
it's not. My channel, except for Access, pales in comparison.
Yeah.
Don't subscribe. Pie, go on. I'll be honest with you. You can plug your channel, but the reality is you dwarf out. You dwarf us.
Well, I'm trying. Hopefully I can get to the point where I can start doing this full time. So I'm trying to get there. But
Oh, mate, just keep doing what you're doing. You honestly,
Yeah,
you
it's
are
pretty awesome.
superb, my friend.
What's
Absolutely.
the channel name?
more pie. Yep. The name came from me just memorizing more digits of pi than most people know. So back in middle school, actually, of all things. So
Not just wanting more pie then.
I mean, I'll take more pie any day. So
Sweet.
I mean, there's that.
Always.
What kind of pie? Apple pie. No, anyone chicken run? Never mind.
No.
Great film.
I mean, apple pie is my favorite.
David
I'll
did
give you
not get that joke. Right. I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't listened, how did you get this far? And we shall see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.